Right, that's the last groove done. So what we should be able to do now is actually bend this, albeit I'm going to be a bit cautious how I do it. But if you look down here, you see how there's the curve. See what I'm doing there? And that's taking very little pressure to do that, to take that curvature out, and that's making the top flat. Excuse me. So what we do after I've cleaned all this down, we have to put a little bit of, get a thin brush and get water down in there, only a little bit, not very much. All it's doing is helping the fibres in the wood relax, because this is bone dry. Then once we've done that, what we'll be doing is inserting these in, but with glue. So we glue those in, we push this down and weight it, and then we walk away and leave it for 24 hours. And when you come back, that will stay in the flat position. I'll get all this prepped and then I'll show you how to do it in a second. Get all the dust out of it like that. Then I get just a thin brush like that, and then just run some water in. Oops, tell you what, let's try doing it like that. You might think this is daft, considering that we spent all this time drying out the table after it had had the flood damage, but you've got to, as I said a few minutes ago, you've got to release the fibres from their tension, because we've just put all these relief grooves in, but there's still 1/4 of an inch on this front edge that's still attached. Well, that can split and crack, and if it does, it's going to go straight through the rosewood veneer on the front, which is making us massive amounts of work. We've already got one split just here that's gone all the way through, and what we don't want is another. This might look like it's been a lot of water spilt on here, but in the grand scheme of things, if you'd seen it when we picked this table up, it's nothing. It also helps by doing this, the glue, because the glue would just naturally soak straight into the dry fibres of the wood. And sometimes the glue can be going off too fast. So you want everything to just relax and go down at a nice natural sort of a pace. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to run some glue in. I just use a normal PVA, and what we do, it's quite a stiff PVA this is, but we run the nozzle over the hole, or the groove rather, like that, all the way down. Don't be frightened of putting too much in, because it'll squeeze out. You see how it's all starting to drop, and as that's going along there, that's dropping in. Well, the next thing we're going to do is put a piece of timber in. Now this is just ordinary redwood, Scandinavian redwood, softwood, pine, whatever you like to call it, but there's no knots in it. The knots would make it a little bit weaker than I really want it, but it doesn't matter if you haven't got long bits that you can get that thin. You can do shorter bits. It's that tension that we're taking out, nothing that way. So you lay that in, push it down, and hopefully that will go right down to the bottom like that. And then we do the same thing again on the next one, and all the way down until the entire table has got grooves filled with pine. So I'll catch up with you again in a little while on the last one, and then we'll press it down, weight it, and then hopefully when we come back tomorrow that will have nicely gone off. So I'll see you in a minute. On the last one now, and it really is quite an easy way of getting this top to go flat, but it might seem a little bit brutal what we've done, but there'd be no value in a table left like this where it's got a bendy top. If you were going to sell it, you wouldn't get anybody buy it, and if you took it to a restorer, it would cost a lot of money, because it is a bit time consuming, but it's not out of the realms of the average woodworker to be able to do this. And during the process of restoring this table, I'm going to show you how to do a bit of French polishing as well. So you've got repairs, staining, French polish, and you're bringing something back from, let's call it the dead. Now, all the strips are in. Some of them, look, where I might have not got it long enough, you can actually do short ends as long as it's in the lengthways. So the next job is to get this so that it's weighted. I have these old kitchen doors, they're oak effect anyway, front doors, kitchen doors rather, and what I do is I just lay that on there, and that helps to push all the bits of wood down that you've laid in the grooves, and then I use these old stage weights. Now you may see this table go down now, tabletop go flat. I'm hoping that it will. Nearly. So what I'll have to do with that is bring the MDF forward and just pull it a little bit more, but it might go when I put the other weight on the other end. But in doing it this way, all the timbers are being pressed down into the bottom of the grooves, and the glue will then squeeze up, and that's what you want to get a good joint. Turn that over the other way. Put that on there, and then just so that you can see that it will go down, I'm going to put these clamps on, and by doing this you see it go, just gently pull it down, one more clamp on it, and I'll put a prop on that far end, because what's happening is the weight and these clamps through this are pressing onto those, which are then pressing the tabletop flat onto the MDF, and you've got to have that MDF as a true flat. Don't use your workbench, use something that you know is flat. So I'm just going to do the same thing on this other end and put a prop down from the ceiling, and that will do it. Come back to that after 24 hours and that tabletop will be flat. See you next time. Right, we've now had 24 hours for this glue to dry, and so fingers crossed it's done the job that we want it to. You might sometimes get a bit of glue run out the edges and just, oh no, it hasn't done, and I was going to say stick the tabletop down to the MDF, but it's not done that. So now I don't know whether you can see that, but it looks to me like it's almost worked. If I get a straight edge down there, just a little bit on the outside edges, which I can live with, because when that's the actual tension in the table is now gone in the tabletop. So I might just do one more cut on these edges yet, but I'll see what it's like when I've repaired the frame. But essentially now all I've got to do with this is cut all these off at both ends, then plane these down flush. Then when I've done that and I'm happy with everything, this can get left and put to one side until the frame of the main table is done, and then we'll offer the two together, and then I'll decide whether that just needs a little bit off there. It really has dived over a lot just at that point, but we can still get it back, but I'll just leave that for now.